All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the May webinar. Um, yeah, welcome. It's been a Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully, everyone had a very nice weekend. So, this is something that, and Chris is here too. How's it going, Chris?
It's going well.
Very good. Excellent that it's going well. We wanted to do this topic for at least the last month. I've had this kind of roadmap in my brain for physicians. Because lately we've been, I don't know why, but we've been talking to a lot of physicians lately. Um, some who are already on level 4, others who are not on any level.
Booth at the AA as we get the slides going, and hopefully meet with a lot of physicians. Hopefully meet with a lot of you guys and gals.
So
And
See
push
that.
stop and push play. Hopefully meet with a lot of you guys and gals, and this is obviously this webinar topic is good for the physicians. I mean, it's obvious, but it's also good for those of you who are site owners that are tasked with, and if you're not tasked with doing this, you should be doing this anyways. You should task yourself to do this. Recruit physicians constantly to your research company, right? And this could be a sales pitch for you, okay? When you're reaching out to research naive physician, you can show them the roadmap. Say, hey, many before you have done this, many after you will do it. Why not you do this too? And you don't have to go all the way to level 4. It's not for every physician, but you can go to level 1, level 2, and you can explain what those levels are when you talk to these physicians. And by having an actual roadmap, you're going to be able to provide them some value and maybe open their curiosity into clinical research. So next slide, Chris. And by the way, what do you think of all this? You've heard these levels before. What do you think?
I mean, it's certainly appropriate. As with any person in any industry, they have different levels they wish to attain as far as experience and expertise. And no different here.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, our audio book, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research, hopefully is in Audible store today, this week. Not today, this week. Maybe today, but sometime this week, the week of May 28th. Okay, so where are all the physicians? Many new physicians are taking jobs in hospitals or large clinics. Chris, in our Site Owner Academy, we have a few physicians in there. Quite a few, actually.
Yep, we do.
A disproportionately high amount. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's what we need in there. We've had this discussion with physicians before. What has the answer that you've been getting from them? Where are all the entrepreneurial physicians at? They seem to be gone, right?
Sure, they're all getting absorbed by larger organizations, right? They're receiving reasonable pay. It's more secure than owning your own business.
Now, what kind of organizations are we talking about?
By name?
No, not name, but the types of organizations hiring. Like, who's taking these people?
Well,
Is it CROs, sponsors? People are they don't know what you mean by that.
No, hospitals or organizations that that network with all the clinicians in the area. So I really don't know how to term that, but I could give you some
large group practices.
There you go.
Nothing to do with research,
No,
by the way.
No.
Which makes this even harder and more difficult for research site owners to recruit physicians.
Mm-hmm.
And
much more difficult.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's less of a pool. Like, there's less of the physicians to even be willing to listen to you.
Yep.
For whatever pitch you have. So this is going to be exceptionally helpful for you as far as getting more physicians to come to your research clinic. All right. So they're less likely to have entrepreneurial interest. Getting them interested in research more difficult considering some of the salaries that large institutions offer. I know here in California, Kaiser Permanente offers psychiatrists fresh out of med school $300,000 a year salary.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Like fresh out of med school. So how am I going to compete with that as a site owner? It's not going to be that I can outspend the Kaiser.
Right.
It's going to be creating this roadmap and then getting the few that are interested in this, definitely interested in working with me as opposed to working with someone else.
Sure.
Or working with themselves. So this is what this webinar is about. And I'm really thinking about trademarking this. And if somebody's watching this video and wants to do it before me, go ahead. I just want it out there because I want this blueprint for physician. We need more. The answer to research recruitment issues, patient recruitment issues, can almost all the time be eradicated by getting more physicians interested in research and doing more research. Because patients, it's proven, they've done studies on this. Patients trust their physicians and are more likely to join a clinical trial when recommended by their physician.
Yeah, that only makes sense, though. I mean, that stands to logic, right? If you had a illness, are you going to trust just some person off the street who's presenting a study to you, or your own personal physician who you probably have some trust in?
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Okay, so now things have changed. Hospitals have gotten involved. And by the way, this is I'm no Nostradamus, but these big group systems, medical systems, healthcare systems, nothing to do with research, okay? They're just getting bigger and they're taking up more of the potential PIs for you. So you need to have your sales pitch down as a site owner. And if you're a physician, you need to pay attention to this because research is a great way to do all kinds of things, which we're going to outline here.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you were discussing Kaiser and offering $300,000 to somebody fresh out of med school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you offer anything as a clinician or a clinic owner? Can you offer them anything that would interest them in doing research? Is there anything you can do?
Of course.
What?
I don't know. It depends on that individual.
Oh, and what their interest may be?
Yeah, it boils down to sitting down with them, getting that initial interest. Somehow you got to find that initial interest.
Will you even be able to get that, though?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's going to be, not maybe, that is becoming more difficult with these salaries.
Right.
So, and that's before you even have this roadmap. It's going to be even harder if you get a meeting with them and then you're not convincing and not persuasive. So this webinar is going to help you do that.
So you think
and if you're a physician, it's going to help you see what's possible.
So you think these 4 levels are a way to entice physicians into research?
Yes, it's a roadmap.
Okay.
It's a roadmap. When you're talking to a physician who has never even heard of research outside of a university setting, some of these physicians don't even understand that there is a private research industry.
Right.
They're too busy seeing their patients at their hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So just awakening them to the possibilities and then showing them, hey, and we're going to get through those in these slides. I don't want to give it away now, but here's the roadmap. You don't have to go all the way to level 4. We're going to find out what's appropriate for you, what you want to do. I'm just showing you the possibilities of what you can do. So entrepreneurial physician, these are really the ones you're trying to target, who are willing to leave their current job or just do research on the side, because most physicians start out doing research on the side.
Sure.
Right? Our 2 PIs here, where we're sitting right now, do research on the side.
Yeah.
And we've built a full-time research site. We've been around for 10 years now?
Yep.
So it's done all the time. And a lot of these physicians, it's just an education. It's a matter of educating them. Right? You don't have to quit your job, but if you want to, you can actually make more money doing research if you have a private practice set up for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is for the entrepreneurial physicians watching or listening, however they're consuming the content, who are already interested.
I think everybody's watching. Nobody's called in.
Later, podcast. This is going to go... We're going to have way more people on the podcast than YouTube than this.
Sure.
Those who have found that clinical research can provide a strong income stream as well as control over the amount of care that is provided to patients. There are so many doctors we know that have such successful research sites. I mean, they're making millions of dollars a year with their research sites. The only reason they're keeping their private practice is to feed patients to their studies.
Makes perfect sense.
That's it. All right, so you're going to see how this could be something that you can sell to your potential physician, or if you're the potential physician, how you can do this on your own. All right, so private practice or a small research group. We talk to these people every day. I think today we have more calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Physicians opening sites, wanting to open sites, have large groups, all right? There's a study coordinator. There's people that are actually doing the work for you, right? But PI oversight is very important in this industry.
Very, very important.
We
FDA takes very large issue with this.
That's right. We spoke to a PI last week who said she believes, in the videos up on YouTube, Dr. Hazen, very successful boutique. She's a level 4 physician, which we're going to get into what that means later. She thinks PIs make the best site owners. And
That she does.
I think it's could also be a study coordinator. I don't think it's necessarily exclusive to one another. I think either can do well.
So really, I believe, and don't let me put words in your mouth here, but the reason you think coordinators make the best is because they do the most work, right? Isn't that accurate?
They do the work, yeah.
Right. So they do the most of the work, right? That's why you feel they're the best. Now, in Dr. Hazen's scenario, she does much more work than the typical PI.
That's right. She's much more involved.
Right. So in that case, sure, makes sense to maybe should make more sense than the coordinator, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's the one managing the payroll. She's the one doing biz dev, it seems like, to get studies.
Right.
She's the one training the coordinators. So she's much more involved. And I can see how it works in her case. I think you can have a great site that's owned by either a coordinator or a PI, or even a former CRA, but we won't get into that right now.
Okay.
So opening a site, if you're the PI, okay, it will not require that much work, especially not at the beginning. At the beginning,
very little work.
It's very little. The work comes when you actually get a study.
When you start making money.
Right? Most studies can be completed with a single physician and a coordinator, which is many of the cases that we talk to. It's a solo physician with a private practice and a study coordinator.
Yep.
All right. Physicians in clinical research. Most physicians in clinical research are happy being PIs. What a statement by Carlos. Do you agree with this?
No.
Do you think they're unhappy? I think the data actually proves that they're unhappy.
Yes.
But this should be rephrased to research naive physicians, right?
Fair enough.
Because I don't know what the stat is. I think it's in our book. Like 80% of PIs who do their first study
will never do another.
Will never do a second one, right?
Yep.
And if you're a physician or if you're a site owner, you've got to pay attention to that because the odds are against you.
Yep.
That you're going to be successful.
Or at least your first PI is not going to be too happy.
That's right. But if you can see the roadmap and the possibilities, and you have to integrate this with all the other webinars we've done. This is just the roadmap for what's possible. For the how to do it, you got to go back to all the other webinars and watch. This is more like a sales pitch for people thinking about doing research, physicians, or physicians already doing research that want to get to the next level, which we're going to get into right now. But the demand for physicians has never been higher. All right, there's more studies than ever before. We need more patients enrolled in these studies than ever before. That's going to just continue to increase, and we need patient recruitment. So we need more physicians doing research, right? There's a high level of secrecy, which affects the number of patients enrolled, the quality of patients enrolled, awareness about ongoing studies, speed, price, and efficiency of each study. And the foundation of all of this is the PI. All right, we need more research-naive physicians doing research. And we need some of the other physicians that are on level 1 or 2, if they want to get to level 3 or 4. Some of them don't even know that's possible.
I hope the level slides are coming up because you keep referencing this.
Yeah, it's a teaser, Chris. It's a teaser.
Right.
But I'm going to ask your opinion on the levels because you already know them, right?
Sure.
You know them. Okay, so industry-sponsored research is misunderstood. Physicians do not write protocols, obtain grants, or do any of the hard science when you're a PI, for the most part. We're going to get to when that does occur. Most physicians who get involved in clinical research, most physicians who call us to help them get studies at their site, most physicians who want to open a site get involved as either a PI or a sub-I for industry-sponsored trials. Huge misconception out there that physicians write their own protocols and obtain grants. That's the minority of the cases.
It's just overseeing patient safety and gathering data.
You're following a protocol, so it's nothing fancy. But it's lucrative if you do it right.
Sure.
If you do it properly.
Absolutely.
All right. Here, finally, we're getting into the levels. All right. We're going to start
About
getting
time.
into it. So physicians can do more than just be a PI at a site. This is your sales pitch for when you go meet with potential PIs. All right. With enough planning, dedicated physicians can reach a level in clinical research that allows them to lead the investigation into new medications. You can actually get involved in medical innovations. And it starts with having a site first.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the best way to do that, it's not the only way. You can go work for a university and get involved in some of the protocols that they write, which is essentially a level 3.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be a solo. You don't need a university. You can do that by yourself and keep all the grant.
Yeah.
And keep all the publishing rights.
Sure.
Not bad. Where do you sign me up? If I'm a doctor, I'm interested.
All right. Step 1.
Step 1. Chris, you take this one. Step 1.
Oh, you're making me read, huh?
Yeah, the lone PI. This one you're most familiar with. It's our biggest type of client.
And this is true, yeah.
When it comes to physicians. Our biggest client is actually CRAs that want to start sites. But when it comes to physicians, our biggest type of physician reaching out to us for us to provide our services is the lone PI, the lone wolf PI.
And these are PIs that are heavily involved. Establishing a strong foundation for the site is very important. All that is required during this step is for PIs to nurture their private practice, if they have one, and ensure that all stages are getting the necessary amount of attention.
Yes, being given the necessary amount of attention.
Hiring PAs or MPs is recommended for physicians with limited hours, and that's absolutely true.
So let's dissect that. Okay.
Sure.
We're actually meeting with a PI. Actually, we might do that today. Another one for a site we're about to open in Orange County.
Yep.
Right. It's a PA who's going to be one of the partners with
NP.
us. Sorry, NP, nurse practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
She has a network of PAs that will work with us.
Right.
We are following this step. We're starting a clinic, and we're starting at step 1 with the PI.
Yep.
Right? We don't know what kind of PI they are. We don't know if they're entrepreneurial. We don't know if they want to get all the way to level 4. But we're going to be there to tell them about it.
Sure.
And that's going to keep them. This is also a good tool for retention, retaining your PIs. Figure out what they want to accomplish. You can never articulate what's possible for them if you don't know the possibilities. And I'm starting to see that a lot of people in this industry, because it's so siloed, don't see the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
They just see the little segment that they're in, and they think that's the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Plato's allegory of the cave. Like if you're just seeing shadows on a wall, you think that's the world. Right?
Fair enough.
So the lone PI is just the first step. But for many PIs, that's all they want, right? They just want step 1. They don't want to go any further, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can make a lot of money at step 1.
Or supplement your other, whatever else you're doing.
Supplement your other, build an actual business, something that you can have as an asset for you for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Maybe even sell it. We're not going to get into that. That's another webinar, selling your clinic. I know somebody who's making. I'm talking them out of making a huge mistake of buying a clinic.
Yeah, not a great webinar. Could be a very short webinar.
No,
On
with me and you
selling
talking and having this dialogue, it's not going to be short.
No. Okay.
No, we can make that very long.
Okay.
All right. So good with the step 1, or you want to continue?
I am. I don't know about the audience, but I am.
Okay, so this is the most common, and by the way, if that's the only step the PI wants. There's nothing, like I said, nothing wrong with that. right?
Sure.
We know tons of people making 7 figures a year at this step. 7 figures a year.
Yeah, agreed.
And when the PI wants to leave your site, you just need to replace them.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're the PI and you want to not be as involved, you need to replace yourself.
Yep.
And still keep the ownership.
Yep.
You're essentially a site owner at that point anyways. Step 1 good? Are you good?
Yeah.
Satisfied?
I'm satisfied.
Okay, very good. So now we go to, well, I guess it would have been step 2, but I guess it's not. All right. Be aware that, so here's an interesting one. Some site owners don't want the PI to take an active role in the business side of the site.
Why would that be?
This occurs when other owners don't want the PI to leave to start up their own site.
So they want them to be a little uninformed.
Yeah, so the slide back here, I think it was 2 slides ago with secrecy. I think a lot of that has to do with this. Fear.
Sure.
People have a, not many people, but a lot of people have a scarcity mindset. And you need to have an expansive mindset.
Well, I do believe it's somewhat of a founded fear.
Sure.
It's understandable.
It's not unfounded.
Sure.
But you know my strategy on this. The best defense is a great offense.
Absolutely.
Right? Just talk to more physicians.
Mm-hmm.
Show them all the 4 steps. Show them why they're most likely to succeed with you. If that's true. If it's not true, they're going to figure it out on their own. So you got to actually be good. You can't just talk and then not deliver. You got to do both. You got to know the vision and then be able to execute it.
So I want to go off on a tangent real quick.
Please. So that's what we do best.
So I'm sure some of our audience, when we discuss sales, they're thinking used car sales, right? In which you're sure you're not getting the truth, right? You can, for those that are thinking of salesmanship, right? I'm going to present this to a physician. There's nothing to say it can't, and it should be 100% truthful what you're presenting, right? You just have to be aware of what you're presenting, right?
Wait, say it again.
Sales doesn't have to be untruthful, right?
Oh, sales doesn't have. You don't have to lie to sell.
Exactly.
Okay, I agree with you. I thought you were saying something else. I was about to interrupt.
No. So I think a lot of people when they hear sales, they're thinking used car salesman.
That's right. People are afraid of selling because the perception is
you have to be dishonest. You have to be kind of sleazy. Yep. That's not the case. But you do want to be able to present all the facts and details, right? Which is part of sales as well.
And you can't sell the vision if you don't know the vision.
Yeah.
And by the way, this 4-step, whether I trademark it or not, maybe there's 5 levels, maybe there's 7. I don't know. This is what made sense to me, like to categorize things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, there's obviously level 3.5, 2.5, 1.5. There's hybrids of all this stuff.
Right.
But this is just to simplify it for you. Like, and then you can make it your own. Make it your own thing. Mm-hmm. If you don't want them to get to level 4, maybe you have no interest in that. For you as the site owner, maybe stop at level 3 and say, hey, this is the maximum you can get. They'll figure it out on their own. I think vertical integration is important, and a lot of this webinar and a lot of what we've talked about in the past, the best defense against being a company that is not just a commodity. Like research sites run the risk of just being a commodity. It's like getting gas, right? You don't care, at least I don't care if it's 76 or mobile. If I need gas, I'm just going to get gas somewhere, right? Like if I can plan it out, I'll go where, like at Costco where it's cheaper. But if I need gas, I don't care so much about where I'm getting it at. I just need gas.
Sure.
Same thing with the sponsors with sites. Like for the most part, and we've talked about this before on webinars, if you are just a mediocre site, you're going to get repeat business. You're going to make money.
Yep.
Right? Yep. You don't have to be a great site to make money. And the great sites, there obviously are advantages to being a great site, but at the end of the day, you're still a commodity. And if virtual trials comes around or some other new disruptive technology comes around, you want to actually be vertically integrated and understand the full spectrum of clinical research. From site to CRO to sponsor to writing the protocols and all the other vendors. All the stuff we talk about in our book, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research, which has been selling very well.
Well, I can go off on another tangent.
Please do.
Well,
We'll get to the next slide.
In regards to your vertical integration, I don't. That would only help a minute few, right? If something came along like
That's right.
virtual trials,
That's right.
I mean, 1 in 100 at best are going to be help being vertically integrated.
That's right.
Most of them are going out of business by
That's
far and away.
correct. But for the people that are listening and watching, why can't that be them?
Sure, but I'm saying if everybody was vertically integrated, even right,
That never happens.
Sure.
That will never happen.
I
You know why?
hear you.
So many people are okay with just level 1, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But the risk is you will be replaced at some point. I don't know when. Maybe not in your lifetime, and you get lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you do.
Yeah.
Then what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? So always think of ways to put bless you.
Thank you.
Always think of ways to put yourself out of business. That's a good strategy I have. Blockbuster, Netflix. Right?
There's one I saw this yesterday. One Blockbuster store still remaining.
Where's it?
It's in Bend, Oregon.
Wow. They're still renting movies?
Yeah. Only one left.
Interesting. So you could be that one site left.
They're still doing research.
That's still doing research, which, by the way, I don't believe virtual trials is ever replacing the sites.
Yeah.
But there's always opportunities to do more things.
Mm-hmm.
Horizontal integration works well too. Okay. Or you can just milk the hell out of it by just being an efficient site that makes tons of money.
I think you're starting to scare our audience.
Well, they should be a little bit.
I don't know.
Anyways, step 2, level 2. Okay. You're going from the lone PI to specialists. Okay. We always recommend the best PI for a brand new startup clinic is a general practitioner, family practice. But you want to specialize up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
You want to, going back to putting yourself out of business.
Sure.
Don't just be a specialist for psychiatry, because there's ebbs and flows to every therapeutic indication. Why not get to the point where you can do all of them? You want to get to the point, and you say this all the time, you want to get to the point to where you can say yes to every study that comes your way.
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Just from generating revenue perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can be a very boutique clinic and go the complete opposite extreme, which is what Dr. Hazen does.
Sure.
But she does that because she's okay with her site staying at level 1 while she's at a level 4, personally herself, with other companies that she's building.
Right.
So there's no right way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
This is just, in my opinion, and I guess yours too, because I hope you agree with me. Maybe you don't. I don't know. For the roadmap.
Sure.
Okay. So level 2, find more physicians, get specialists to join you. So then this sales pitch becomes your pitch to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This exact thing we're going through. Show them the blueprint. Doing studies, different indications, keeps you diverse. Right? That's level 2. And also the SMO is kind of part of the level 2, where you can take the model. Let's say you get to the point where you can say yes to every study.
Mm-hmm.
All right, which nobody can do.
No, that's not true. But
I don't know anyone that can actually do that.
Right, few.
Right. But once you get to that point, or close as you can to that point,
Mm-hmm.
you can start scaling it and doing SMOs. And I know SMOs came out of favor recently. They're coming back in favor now. You don't need to call it an SMO. But essentially, you're scaling the business in different geographic indications. So first you diversified with different therapeutic indications. Now you're scaling in different geographic areas.
Just so we don't have anybody confused, SMO does not stand for social media optimization.
Social search optimization media. No. SMO, site management organization. Site management organization.
Yep.
Okay, so diversify with therapeutic conditions in one geographic area. Then, and only then, scale it to other geographic areas. Or you don't need to listen and do however you want. But this is an option, and this is the roadmap I would follow.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to do it that way. I just think it makes the most sense to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the most profitable.
I tend to agree.
Thank you. Now, it gets interesting.
No,
Now
it hasn't been interesting.
No, it's been. I think it's been fascinating.
Fascinating.
It's been riveting dialogue we've been having about the levels. But in all seriousness, I think some physicians are clueless, and this will be helpful to them. And site owners too.
Yeah.
Okay. Step 3 or level 3, networking, scaling, investigator-initiated trials.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're starting to get into as a CRO.
Yeah.
We're not physicians, but the same thing applies to us, right?
Yep.
We've had clinics at level 1. We've had clinics at level 2. Now we're getting into level 3 with our CRO, with our ability to help people with investigator-initiated trials.
Yeah.
Can you explain what an investigator-initiated trial is?
Basically, the PI is the sponsor, right? They design the protocol. They're implementing the protocol, conducting a trial. Usually it's just at their site, but not always.
And how do you get to do an investigator-initiated trial?
How do you get what?
How do you get to do an investigator-initiated trial if you're a physician?
There's a couple different ways, right? You can fund it yourself, or maybe you partner with another sponsor, and they'll fund the project.
Aha. And you can see how or why it would make sense to start with level 1 and 2 first, because you're building
better understanding of everything, and you're building relationships.
You're building relationships with these same sponsors that may want to work with you on an IIT in addition to the other studies you're doing for them.
They'll fund your project.
So while it's possible to go from level 0 to level 3, in my opinion, it makes more sense to start with level 1 and 2 and then you get to 3.
Yeah.
But a lot of physicians that want to go from 0 to level 3 go work at universities. And then they'll get hired by the university, and then they'll just start writing grants. Or maybe they'll collaborate or start teaching at a university, and then they'll write protocols because they're interested in the hard science.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for the physicians that are interested in the hard science. And maybe you're not, and this is why I said that's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a physician that could care less, I know a lot of physicians that could care less about science. Sounds bad, but they're not interested in the science. They just want to monetize. They want high volume of patients.
Mm-hmm.
They want to do studies, put the patients from their private practice in the studies, monetize that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong. I'm not judging.
Sure.
But if you are a physician that wants more, or if you are partnered, if you're lucky enough to be partnered with a physician who wants more, like our buddy in LA last week, we went to do a site selection visit with him.
Yes.
Okay. I just met his PI for the first time. Talked to him. I already know he wants to be level 3 and level 4.
Yeah.
Why? Because in the 5 minutes I had with him, maybe it was 10, I asked him questions, and he's already working on level 3 stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And he understands that he needs to build his network, so that's why he wants to do the level 1 and level 2 site.
What interests people.
That's right. Go to conferences is another one. We opened it with DIA. Who's going to join us at DIA? We're going to have a booth. DSCS CRO is going to have a booth with Progenibiome, one of the companies that we're working on a level 3 and 4 type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a level 3.5 with them. There's a lot of potentials there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sharing a booth because we're their CRO, and we're going to be there hopefully networking with other physicians. And guess what? If you're a physician and you go to these big conferences, right? There's so many conferences in this industry, and they specialize. So you have Scope, which is more for sites. You have Magi, which is kind of more for sites. You have Society of Clinical Research sites, which is more for sites. But then you have these big ones like DIA, Bio. You have different ones for medical conditions, like the one we went to last week, DDW.
Mm-hmm.
It was for gastroenterologist.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a physician or if you're an entrepreneur yourself and you go to these conferences, you can actually see other researchers across the country who are already doing investigator-initiated trials, who are already looking at the science and coming up with their own ideas and publishing the results of their studies. This is why they don't want cameras in there.
Yep.
If you're a physician that wants to do an IIT and you're interested in, exosomes, okay, wouldn't it make sense to go to these conferences, BIA, Bio, look at the scientific presentations they have, And then you can network with the protocol authors that share similar interests with you.
Absolutely.
And not only that, you can see which big companies like Pfizer, Janssen, Glaxo, whatever the sponsors are, who are funding these studies, and you can go network with them too. But they're going to take you much more seriously if you already have the level 1 and maybe a level 2 infrastructure. They'll take you much more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just research naive and you have an idea and you start networking, it's probably going to work too, but they're going to take you much more seriously if you're already experienced in conducting clinical research.
Well, you can talk the industry speak.
That's right. And you understand their problem. No sponsor is going to invest in you if you don't understand clinical research.
Mm-hmm.
So that's step 3. That's level 3. Okay. And also your medical scientific liaisons. That's a good way to get studies too, but it's also a good way to partner if you're a physician or if you're a site owner. Encourage your physician to network with the medical science liaisons of the different drug companies, of the different drugs that they prescribe in their clinic. Okay, that's another way to get IITs. And step 4, level 4, creating your own IP, your own intellectual property, your own investigational product.
Mm-hmm.
Same IP, whichever one you want to call it, it's the same thing, right? This doesn't necessarily have to follow level 3, but I think it becomes easier and less risky if you do a level 3 first, that you can get it financed by a drug company. And then you can start to see, like our friend is doing with immunotherapy,
Mm-hmm.
you can start to see whether it works or not. And then if it does, and you're more confident in the science, you can now create an actual protocol on your own, maybe even a drug company or a device company or a diagnostic company or something like that, right? A test could be anything. Lately, these days, more and more so, it's going to be tests, diagnostics. We're getting into an era of personalized medication,
Right.
where you're not just going to sell a pill to millions of people, right? Like that's the model we have now. That's starting to change with discoveries in the microbiome, with discoveries in genetics, with improved diagnostics. You're always going to have the big drugs, but you're going to also have very specialized treatments, individualized treatments, right? Maybe for a subset based on their genotype or their microbiome or whatever it may be, whatever the science comes out with. So if you're a physician, this is why going to these conferences is important. You need to stay up to date with what's going on. Read the journals, right? Read the peer-reviewed articles. And then if you're truly interested, you can get investors to finance it. You can bootstrap it. We know people doing both, right? You can partner with a drug company. This is where the relationships comes in handy, right? Now you could also submit a grant to the NIH, maybe get funding from them. There's a whole ecosystem around just the NIH, which I know very little about. But we were in discussions last year with grant writers, which never really materialized into anything. But now we're going more the route of bootstrapping and private investors.
Yeah.
And collaborations. Anything you want to add here?
No. We're good.
So if your PI, when you meet with them, your potential PI, has any inclinations into geeking out on the science and has ideas, and you can tell if you talk to them and ask the right questions, you can tell what they're interested in. Some of these doctors tell you right away without you even asking.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can tell them, hey, did you know you can actually get to do create your own IP? The best way, I think, is for you to start with a site, learn the ropes, learn the game with industry sponsored trials, build relationships, go to conferences, scale it, have your clinic work. And that's one thing I haven't made clear yet, which I want to make clear. If you get to level 4 as a physician or as an entrepreneur, that doesn't mean level 1, 2, and 3 are stopped. If you do it properly, you can have them all going on simultaneously.
Yep.
That way you're diverse. That way you have multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of revenue. The most underrated thing in all of business. Forget clinical research, all of business. Right? What better way to do it than to work your way through these 4 levels or as far up these 4 levels as you want? right? And there's, of course, hybrids of these, 1.5, 2.5. You can make a case for 3.5. Probably we can find a level 5 somewhere. But this is what I came up with. This is what I'm hoping to trademark one day and sell it as a course. Charge a lot of money for it because it's worth a lot.
Sure.
Anything you want to add?
No, I think you covered it all.
Any questions? Anybody have questions? Right. Time frame. Why don't you talk a little bit about the time frame of this?
I think 10 years is a little long, right? It may take 10 years. You can eventually develop your own IP. I mean, you may have something in mind right now. You may have something ready to go right now. You just need to learn the ropes and the steps to get there. So 10 years seems a little long to me. It could be a couple years. Some physicians would rather take the academic route and avoid networking and developing a business. The academic route is typically slower than the industry route due to various restrictions. And that's definitely true. The academic route is always a little slower, whether it be just at level 1 conducting just a typical study. There's local IRBs in place, and it takes a longer period of time to get something approved in research, or probably anything in general at the academic level. If you are interested in speed, then you certainly want to do it at a private level, and if at all possible, probably want a partnership with some other sponsorship. And sorry, but okay, I have a question. I'm a sole physician PI. What type of arrangements are there when hiring or working with other physicians? So that's dependent upon your situation and the other physician situation. Again, you have to ask them what they're interested in. If they're just interested in a check, then you can pay them an hourly rate, a salary. You can pay them a percentage of the study budget. It's what is it that they want, and then you have to have an agreement.
And also, what is it you want?
Of course.
Yeah. Good question. I think we have one more slide.
One more slide.
Maybe it's just the... Okay.
So taking the industry route also has the benefit of allowing physicians to see what the medical field needs. Physicians who follow this plan can address real patient needs and contribute to science while having control over their schedules.
Yeah, that's something actually pretty important that we haven't talked about, but hopefully it's self-evident and obvious that if you actually treat patients and you enroll patients in studies, you can see patient needs and you can see industry needs as well. And if you're truly an entrepreneur, you can figure out how to create value and address those needs. So very good question. I'm excited about this webinar. I'm glad we did it. I think we're going to make a course out of this at some point.
More courses.
Physicians. More courses, yeah. And the Site Owner Academy is only $3,000 right now. And by January 2020, we're increasing it significantly to $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to make it exclusive, but everyone who gets in now is going to stay in because it doesn't end. It ends when you want it to end. You can just stop showing up. Stop
attending.
Right? So the Site Owner Academy, $3,000. That's all it costs. January 2020, it's going to $10,000. All right? Anything else? That was our little plug right there. I feel like it's related to this content, so I brought it up.
It is.
Anything else, Chris?
No. Any additional questions from the audience?
Yeah. Had a good Memorial Day? You?
Took it easy. Didn't do a whole lot.
R&R?
Yeah, you did much more than I did.
Played a cornhole. Found a new hobby.
Yeah, you're a pro.
Mm-hmm. Gonna go pro. Yeah. I'm thinking about it. Don't know if that'll happen.
You're in the amateur division right now.
When I registered for the ACL, which is like the MLB for cornhole, you can pick your skill level, and I put advanced.
Huh?
Not that difficult. You just gotta practice.
Okay.
All right. Hopefully everyone enjoyed. Hopefully everyone got some value out of this. Like I said, the Site Owner Academy is $3,000. right now for the rest of 2019. In January 2020, we're increasing it to 10,000. But if you paid for it, you get to stay in. You're grandfathered in. We're getting a lot more interest in that, and we're thinking of making a more exclusive product.
Mm-hmm.
And then the book, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research, is going to be the audiobook is going to be hopefully released before the month of May is over, May 2019. For those
actual book's
listening,
already out.
the actual book's out, been doing great. Feedback's been great. We got 5-star reviews only so far, Chris.
How many of those did we pay for?
Just a few.
Just like 2?
We didn't pay. We bribed people to do it. But most of them are organic. Yeah. So anyways, hopefully you enjoyed the audiobook. It's going to be out, The Comprehensive Guide to Clinical Research, anytime in May. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and we will catch you all later. Bye-bye.